so much has changed. I think the first movie had like 250 visual effects shots in it. This movie has over 2,000. You know, we shot the first film on film. You know, we're now obviously fully digital. The movie's 3D. That didn't really exist when we started. You know, it's filmmaking has changed dramatically, and you know, I'm a lover of technology. I've always been an early adopter of new technologies, so you know, I feel like Resident Evil movies in particular are always on the cutting edge of new filmmaking techniques. Every film we've built new camera rigs. You know, I really love that kind of stuff. Always trying to deliver like something cutting edge and also something different and fresh for the audience.
It has begun!
I think I'm probably of the first generation of filmmakers who video games were a big part of our lives. You know, I remember the very first Space Invaders machine when it appeared in arcades, you know, before anyone played video games at home. You know, so video games have always been a big part of my life, and it's a big part of the visual aesthetic of what I do. I think if you know video games, you can tell from the way a Resident Evil movie is shot, it's been made by somebody who kind of takes visual cues from that new media. I think if you don't know video games, it doesn't really matter. It's just it's a cool looking movie. But I think, you know, all the overhead shots, all the graphic shots, you know, these are things that video game players are very, very familiar with. This is going to sound very cliche, but I think it's because the movies are made with a huge amount of love and a huge amount of passion. You know, it's very rare when you see a franchise and it's the same creative team behind the camera and in front of the camera for the entire length of the franchise. And I think in front of the camera, Mila has been like, she's the beating heart of this franchise. You know, there wouldn't be a franchise without her. She's the people that the audience love. She drags the audience through these kind of sometimes horrific scenarios, and behind the scenes, you know, we match that passion. You know, we all came to Resident Evil with a love of the original video game, and we've poured that passion into the films. And also, I feel like we haven't tried to hit any deadlines. You know, you see a lot of franchises burn out because they every Halloween we have to have a new Paranormal Activity or a new this or a new that, and that kind of pace, you know, people lose interest on the audience's side, but also on the filmmaker's side. And for us, I think we've always gone away, we've done other things, so that when we come back to make a Resident Evil movie, people are excited. I mean, you feel it on the set. There's just a real level of excitement and passion and energy. I think that's all poured into the film, and I think you can see it in the finished product. Well, you know, I love VR, and I'm definitely kind of experimenting with it. I've always felt that, you know, what VR is it's an extension of trying to immerse the audience in a movie, and I feel like I've always been trying to do that. You know, even when, you know, before 3D really took off, you know, when things were just flat on the screen, I always tried to make every one of my movies like a ride movie, where you were kind of immersed in the film and disoriented by the film. So I've always tried to kind of give the audience that immersive experience. 3D, I think, can really enhance it if it's correctly used. Sound, obviously, is becoming more and more sophisticated, and VR, I think, is definitely the next frontier, and it's something I'm very excited about.
Killed you in Washington.
Yeah, big mistake.